Stuart, good morning. It's 8 games without a win. How is the dressing room and how have things been with yourself when the pressure starts to ramp up? How do you handle that as a manager?
It's fine, it's football, and I think I said way back that we're always going to experience difficult runs. Historically, you will do as one of the essentially smaller clubs in the league. It's a difficult league. None of us ever want to go 8 games unbeaten. Of course, that goes without saying. We all have that professional, personal pride in a sense that we want to achieve. We want to be as high up as we possibly can in the league. We want to find ourselves in a position of runs and form that we have found ourselves on over a stretch. But you know what? It's simple again to talk about that. It's for us where we've found ourselves is that we're conceding cheap goals, and you can see, especially in the first half for us, when we concede to 2 corners against St Johnstone, that it has an impact and it has an effect on confidence. Of course it does for the players. You can see that on the park. But I think what I'm especially pleased at is the character we show to come out the other end of that. I've not criticised the players in the sense of their application and their effort. It doesn't really come down to that for me. I think that everyone will see that they give their all to the cause, and I think that we've picked up a number of injuries because guys properly put their body on the line. So I think what we just really have to tidy up is, and I keep saying it and probably boring people with it, is our decision making. A wee bit of emotional intelligence at big stages in games, but I genuinely believe that. You know, we've done our post-match analysis from St Johnstone, and that's what it comes back to again. And I just referenced probably the second goal that we scored to get ourselves back into the game on Tuesday. That looks like us again. You know, we've had a lot of credit for some of our play, some of the patterns that we work on and we try and make effective in the game, movement in the forward area, all those types of things. But that just looks far more like us, and I just hope that that's a wee bit of a catalyst for us to start moving us in the right direction. But you know, I think Stevie maybe said this in the press the other day, that if we were to probably jumble up some of the defeats in this run that we're on just now through my stretch, it looks like a pretty healthy points haul for a club like Motherwell. You know, I'm not sure what it is, something like 52 points over however many games. It's a decent haul, but I also acknowledge that at this point we want that number to be better in this kind of shorter term. But long term of where we've been as a football club, you know, we've amassed a lot of points and we've won a lot of games of football. But we just need to try and get back to that stage, and I can assure everybody we're working very, very hard and putting in a lot of hours and trying to go into a lot of detail and just trying to get the players back to that feeling of, you know, aspects that they're good at and how they can impact games of football.
You talk about that second goal midweek, hoping it's a catalyst. How confident are you that things will change this weekend, that you can get back?
Listen, I've been confident for a number of weeks. We've had a couple of different feelings. I keep talking about us coming back in off of St Mirren and Rangers and Celtic, the 3 games that we lost, by the odd goal, and saying how good we were. So I don't think we cloud this and say that this has all been a complete and utter disaster in terms of what the players have delivered. And 2 points out of those 8 games we expect and we want more. Of course we do. There's been games in there when you've been down to 10 men and you've been up against it, so that's a different narrative. Games where you've played well and, you know, come up short and the last kick of the ball against the likes of Celtic. So there's different stories in there. I think what we do in football is we get really carried away and it snowballs and everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. As I say, we've been in a pretty healthy position, in my opinion, as a football club since February. The players themselves have been able to turn around what was a really bad run and a bad league position, and as I spoke about at the time, probably looking as if we were favourites at the time to be relegated. But again, cycles in football, we find ourselves in a difficult enough run, but I believe we've got the character and quality to come out the other end of it. And I, the same as I was when we were winning games, come in with a spring in my step to the football club, and I've seen an element of that for the players as well. So nobody shucks it, nobody hides from it, and it becomes a big game. Of course it does, because we want to win 3 points before we go into an international break, and that puts you in a real positive mindset. Our last victory, I think, was against Hearts at Tynecastle, so we know it's going to be a difficult game against one of the biggest clubs in the country that invest a heck of a lot into their squad and have a lot of options, and again will be expected to beat us, but we have to make sure that we sort of play against the odds again, which we've done many times.
Just finally from me, on the league table itself, it's starting to get really close points wise at the bottom. If you win at the weekend, you could potentially be in the top half, be up to 5th. If you lose, you could potentially be bottom. Is that a positive for you as a manager? Is that the way that you project it to your players?
That's the Scottish League, isn't it? That's how it's been for a long period of time. It has been so close. There's been, a lot of people talk about the poor runs one or two clubs have found themselves in, and I just think by the nature of this league, that's often what you're going to find yourself in. I think what we've become accustomed to at times is sort of seeing that top six and bottom six starting to divide. But even at this stage, a lot of clubs some played 12, some played 11, I think 1 or 2 on 10 games, then it's still incredibly close, but anywhere between really that third spot, round about that position in the league to the bottom end of the table. You put together a good run, you put together a string of wins, and you'll find yourself in a healthy position. If you don't, then your league position shows that you'll be in that bottom half. But I think the positive side is, even throughout that, and even with us expecting and hoping to have picked up more points in this last run of games, we still find ourselves very much in the mix. If we piece together a few wins, then the league position looks incredibly healthy.
You mentioned you came in when they were on a bad run, Motherwell. What did you do significantly then that you might be replicating now? Was there something significant that you spotted?
I don't know, Peter, to be honest with you. I think that we really did strip things back, and we really did get ourselves into a position where we had to do the fundamentals and the basics correct in the game. I know you hear that every single week, but it was making sure that players are motivated, making sure there's a realisation of the position they find themselves in, and that you have to change it very, very quickly. That's where we were, because we knew we were running out of games last season. But that motivation can't be any different, just 12 games into the season for us. And what I have seen is that's evident, and I'll not hide that, is that certain aspects, just that disciplined contact defending inside the penalty area, making sure we're organised behind the ball. There's been elements of that haven't been the same as it was, and the players know that. The players are the first people to hear that. So we can't be too confused as to why we start to concede some silly goals. I would argue at times just by our team being connected and the distances between our team. Now, I'm not talking about Tottenham on Monday night against Chelsea, which was one of the most incredible things I've seen, but the distances between our players has to be compact. That's where we've had a lot of our success, and just at times I just feel as if those distances are starting to creep up. So I've identified what I believe are the crucial aspects of it. I would say that the players understand that. They will, because they sit and spend so much time in a video room, and they spend so much time on the pitch where we actually walk them through it and we indicate it. But again, it's action in that. It's making sure that we know why we were successful. It's important that we know why that's now not picked us up as many points as we would like, but we have to action that in games, because I genuinely believe that there is evidence for us to show that we can win games of football and we can be competitive when we do that.
Most of the clubs who get away from that bottom end and don't get sucked in, Motherwell's a case in point last season with Van Veen, is a goal scorer.
Yep.
Are you hoping, do you see signs that Biereth could be that man for you?
Yeah, I think we've pitched in with goals. Just trying to think, we've 7 goals. Just trying to think, we've had 7 goals in the last sort of 4 games. Isn't a bad return. It's probably the other column that's the one that annoys me, because I do believe we've got quality. I think everyone sees that Mika Biereth with his minutes and goal and assist ratio is pretty impressive at this stage, but I also think the guys like Theo Bair and Connor Wilkinson, they have managed to pitch in with a couple of goals, couple of assists, and I still think we've got quality from that kind of midfield area. We score from a second phase of a set play, which we need to increase, and we get that goal against St Johnstone, which is the one that gets us back into the game. So overall, Peter, I think we have to contribute, but I think there's definitely signs that we have guys that know where the net is and know how to put the ball in the back of net. I'm not suggesting we ever felt that there was somebody that was going to score 29 goals. We knew that was a pretty special season, but the job was always to contribute from other areas. I think we show signs of that, but fundamentally, again, I start to have a mindset as a manager that we need to make sure that column sometimes against looks like 0 and we get our clean sheets, because it will always give us a base.
So picking up on that point then, you working more with the organisation at the back end where the problem lies?
But I think that comes from the top end as well. There's so many aspects, and again, I could sit here the next week and explain that to you and give you all the detail that we look into, and we've spent several hours since the game finished on Tuesday. I don't want to end it just to think that that's our goalkeeper in our back line, because we have always attacked and defended as a team. I think that's so important to us. And there's aspects that we can do better at the top end which will help us defend better, but equal to that, from the back to the front, it can help us as well. So I don't think at any point our team should look fragmented. It shouldn't look separate in its units. And I think just recently we've started to see little signs where gap spaces are too big, and what starts to happen is you get the guys at the top end of the park pointing the finger at the ones at the back, and you get the ones at the back pointing the finger at the top end of the park. That's not my belief. It's not what I think makes this club successful, and it's not what I believe gets this club into a position where we pick up points and gain places in the league. We have to do it as a collective, and we'll score goals together and we'll defend together. And that's been laid out to the players. And you asked me what did I do when I first came in, and we were able to sort of change that narrative and change that outcome of what we were getting on a match day. That was the biggest aspect of it, that we sort of joined things up and we made sure that we done every aspect of the game together. And we have to get back to that to get 3 points.
Stuart, obviously a couple of bits of bad news yesterday on the injury front. For Lennon Miller, obviously it's maybe a new thing for him to have a spell out. He's obviously got a very good experience in his family to help him deal with that as well. You see this as even just part of the learning curve of being a professional footballer as well?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's a blow for everybody. I think we could all see how well Lennon was performing, how valuable he is to us, and hopefully will be moving forward. But yeah, it happens to football players. It's really unfortunate. We were gutted for him, but the person with the best body language and the most maturity about it again is a 17-year-old. That's how he carries himself. That's how he is, and he has been through every challenge that he's had to this point. We know it's looking at a 12-week injury. We know it's a fracture to his patella, a kind of small fracture in his patella. And we just had to get everything else checked out to make sure that there was no other kind of lasting damage or anything like that. He's been to see what I believe is the top guy in Britain that deals with that type of injury. So no, we're pretty comfortable where the timescale is. Lennon is comfortable, and I think at times you can gain on other aspects when you find yourself injured. I've said that to a lot of young players, whether you gain being up the gym, the mental aspect of it, but I think you always can, if you do it properly, you can come back in a stronger place, and I've no doubt in my mind that Lennon will do that.
Obviously, DAVORA has had to be patient this season as well, as a couple of maybe 1 or 2 starts, but do you see signs of him kind of settling in? Does he have a big role to play now that Lennon's out of the team?
Yeah, listen, we've got good players, Slattery, Spittle, Davor. We've got a number of guys that can play in that area of the park, and Harry Payton obviously comes into that category as well. So we've a few options, and certainly the ones that I've been going with I've felt has been the right fix. Davor, I feel's probably started to settle more in recent weeks, in the last month or so. It's starting to get a better feel for it, but it's important, and he knows this himself, that he needs to show more than the guys that currently have the jersey in order to displace them and get himself a role in the team. I would suggest that Lennon coming out obviously creates another void and another opportunity for him, but he, like everyone else, must ensure that the levels are high and that he shows that he's capable of playing at the level that we'll go at. And Hearts, for example, on Saturday, we can see the quality that they've got, and we can see the quality they've also got sitting on the bench in that area of the park. So we always know it's going to be a stern test in the middle of the park, and but he's showing signs of moving in the right direction, it's safe to say.
Obviously, Paul McGinn, he's been a kind of key aspect of the year back three, be able to kind of carry the ball forward as well. Is that a kind of blow, to lose that kind of aspect of the game?
Yeah, it is 6 weeks, I think, is kind of what's been detailed for Paul. He's had surgery yesterday on his cheek, fractured cheek. I'd suggested that just at the end of the game, that's what it was something that was looking like. But I need to pick up on this point, and again, hopefully don't bore anybody. I spoke to Crawford Allen about this, where we had a similar incident here against Aberdeen. Our player wins a header. Now, we speak about being responsible for your fall through. I seen Marcus Rashford last night. I watched the lad Brown for Ross County against Celtic. We keep talking about these ground challenges and you're responsible for your fall through. I'm seeing guys getting red carded for it and all the rest of it. And folk will tell you, I didn't see him coming. There was a genuine attempt for the ball. We've had 2 instances now, as I say, one in the Aberdeen game with Brodie Spencer and one with Paul McGinn, where our guy clearly wins the ball and the follow through for the opponent, and there's no malice in it. The player's not trying to hurt our player. But correct me if I'm wrong, that must be a greater danger when we start to talk about this age where we're worried about concussion and long-lasting injuries, fractured cheekbones and all the rest of it. And I hope I'm not going into this too much, but I've spoken to Crawford about it. I spoke to the officials about it after the game, as calm as I possibly could. We're going to have to take a look into this situation as a game, because I think that we're really focusing on what happens on the ground. But when you start to get into the realms of guys going full force, missed time in a header, in full force, kind of almost headbutting the opponent, and again it's not deliberate, but that's essentially what's happening, then I believe personally that we're running a greater risk of longer term injury, lasting injury, concussions, and fingers crossed it doesn't come to that case, but much worse. Making a back for players in aerial challenges, I've seen several of them recently, and one in actual fact goes against us. I think we have to look at these aerial challenges. I've been really big on it in the last couple of weeks. As I say, I've spoke to the officials with my concerns over it, but I think we're really focusing on what's happening on the ground, and I don't think at any point we're giving players protection. And I would love somebody to tell me what the difference is with that follow through to clatter heads with somebody when you think you can win a header, as opposed what it might be when you catch somebody kind of halfway up the ankle or on the shin, because essentially you're still in control of your follow through. And if you look at the one with Paul, I think it was with Lewis Mayo, who's an honest player. I think he's genuinely going for the ball, but he misses the ball and he headbutts Paul in the cheek. There's a chance that there can be some serious damage off the back of it. I think the officials told us at the time that they gave us an advantage and we got a shot at goal. That's completely inaccurate. The ball goes into the box, the Kilmarnock player clears the ball, and we get a throw in off the back of it. There's no foul. I find it amazing, but as I say, I'm going to urge everybody to take a wee bit more of a look into that, because in an age where we're trying to make the game better and make it a little bit safer for players, I think we're seriously missing an aspect of the game which could be potentially dangerous for players.
Did you get anything, any feedback from Crawford, Alan?
No, Crawford was great. He took note of it. Probably said that I don't know if he'd heard it explained exactly as I had done. I spoke to the match officials on Saturday, where again they took note and really did take on board my concerns. But I think it's important that we action it. That's probably my point, because I make these points, other managers will see other aspects that's happened to their team and they'll raise concerns. But I think what's really important is that we actually take note of it, but we action it as well. I keep speaking about taking actions to what everybody will see. I'm sure you guys have seen a number of them over the course of this season and beyond. It almost feels like something we're sort of missing for me in the game, and I think we have to be cautious, because from the two players that have sustained head injuries for us, there's potentially worse coming if it's something that we don't try and eradicate from the game. Every player is responsible for their action. If you can't win that ball, you might need to just stand and hold your ground and see if you can defend the next phase. So let's see what happens from it moving forward. I dare say that at times we could be punished from it, from some of your guys thinking they can win the ball, but that's two instances in the last 3 games of football we've played, and there's been significant blows to the head, which one was a bounce ball and the other one was a throw-in. That was what the outcome of both incidents were. Team news, we're missing Pap Swari, we're missing obviously Lennon Miller and Paul McGinn, but we've had a wee bit more positive news on Jon Obika yesterday, where he starts to come into contention. He's done a lot of work, and we're hopeful that in the next few games, certainly beyond the international break, that he'll start to come into consideration for us.